do you guys have any specific tips or tricks or ways that you prepare to handle objections when you're starting off a new project or you're new to demand drive? What are some of those like interesting things that maybe you do to kind of prep? Is it maybe like you organize your content in a certain way, or you kind of, you know, lay out your talk track in a certain way? I'm sure there's a bunch of different kind of answers here. So whoever wants to start, you know, feel free.
Yeah, sure. I'll start. So for me, what I like to do is I like to just gather all the information that I have, whether it's the talk track, maybe it's their website, it could be information just from training. And then I just bookmark it on my screen. So I'll have it on my screen, either on the main screen or on my side screen. And what I'll do is I'll just have that up and I'll have some bullet points. So I'll have my talk track, and then at the bottom, I'll have some bullet points of like the value that I really want to bring to the call. And so when I'm on the call, I can quickly glance at that bookmark page and quickly reference something that I want to bring up. And if they give me an objection, I can quickly kind of scan to see if it's on my talk track. And I think having that bulleted list for me, like that really helps me, and having everything like quickly accessible. So you're not on the call kind of looking around to find the right item. So I think staying really organized is really important.
Number one most frustrating objection, according to you all, is the dreaded "I'm not interested." I hated this one when I was an SDR. So I'd love to hear from each of you, like, how do you typically overcome this objection? Because it can be a kind of a tricky one.
I kind of try to follow up with a positive word like great or good, just so it doesn't keep going with a negative connotation. And then back to what I was saying about knowing the product, if you understand what your product is going to fix, you can kind of get over that and ask them. So basically try to ask them a pain point. Like for me, if someone tells me they're not interested, my next statement would be, okay, that's good. Are you familiar with the SPF lookup limit? And in that sense, that can get them open a little bit, like, oh, actually, yeah, I am. And then you can kind of get that conversation back under control. But following up with the pain point, a lot of people may not be interested, but if it's their job to take care of something, then they will be interested once they understand that, all right, maybe we do have this pain. So the not interested seems very negative, but if you can get over that hurdle, then you can definitely control that conversation and steer it back to you.
The second most frustrating objection that you all said was like, oh, this just isn't a problem for us right now.
For that, I think it's just very important to, use that as almost a jumping board to have a conversation, because obviously most of our software solve more than one problem. So if you bring up one certain problem, well, it's like, great, well, let's talk about, how it works for you. And then they might say, but it doesn't really do this, but your product might do that. So I just kind of using that as an advantage of being like, great, well, let's talk about what else you're doing. You solved that one little problem. Let's see what else we can help you out with. Would be kind of how I would attack that.
So this one is actually kind of similar in a way, but almost gives a little bit more context. So what about like when you call somebody, they're like, oh, we already have something in place. Like we already have something that's working for us, or we're working with like a specific competitor of yours.
All of these are actually pretty tricky because usually these are followed up with getting hung up on. So you may not actually have the time to go deeper, but if they do, I always try to say that I'm not really looking to break up any happy marriages or any trying to come in between you and a competitor, but we would just like to offer another resource just in case somewhere down the line you guys do decide to switch. And I just follow up with maybe getting something tentatively on the calendar towards next quarter. So if you guys are interested in switching, you can hear about our product, and then if it makes sense, we can go from there. But again, like I said, a lot of times you don't really get the opportunity to speak. Like people will hang up on you, but you can't take it personally. You try to keep going and keep dialing.
What about those folks that try to push you off the phone and say, oh, just send me an email or just send me some information? This one can be infuriating when all you want to do is just talk to them because you finally got somebody on the phone, right? How do you overcome this one?
I think that sometimes people say, send me some information because they're just afraid to say no. They're just straight up afraid to say, actually, this isn't going to be a good fit. Actually, I'm not interested. They want to like let you down nicely by saying, oh yeah, send me some information. They're never going to look at it, right? Unless they actually see the value in it. they're just going to get that email and maybe ignore it, and you're going to have to follow up 5 to 10 times. What I like to do is say, yeah, I'm happy to send you some information. While I have you on the phone, it might make sense just to spend 5 minutes to discuss the information that I would send you over email, just so we can have a live conversation. It is a lot of material and you might have questions on it. So I'm happy just to discuss with you right now, while I have you on the phone. I even make a joke sometimes like, oh, I know how hard it is to like get in touch with you. I'd love to just chat with you now. It doesn't always work. Like Kenny said, I think we're kind of like sugarcoating it a little bit. I think there's a lot of like hangups and no thanks and just like straight up, they let you go. But I think it is important to like let them know that it would be valuable to have the conversation instead of just blanketly sending the information over.